Hello, I'm Amy Bell. Get ready, summer's almost here, and so are some of the best festivals in the city. This is our Vancouver. Coming up, a community forged by fire. And up in your grill at the Brewery and The Beast. But first, a martial art with warrior roots. All right, heads up all you martial arts fans. Kung Fu, karate, jiu-jitsu, all world famous thanks to Hollywood celebrities like Bruce Lee and so many others. But have you heard of Gatka? These days, it's an art form practiced in a studio and will soon be on a worldwide stage in Surrey. Paneet Singh joins us in studio to tell us more. Hello, Paneet. Thanks for coming in.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So you have a very major international event coming up in Surrey. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, the Damdama Gatka Championship is the first time that we're having an international Gatka Championship here in Surrey at this caliber.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be Fari Soti combat. And Fari, which is what we refer to this as this usually leather or cloth or vinyl shield, and this bamboo stick, which is a soti. So it'll be competitors going at it for 2-minute bouts, 64 competitors from around the country, around North America, and around the world. We'll be going at it across men's and women's divisions.
Oh, that sounds impressive. So what is modern day Gatka? I imagine it has changed a bit over the years, or has it not?
Gatka is an enduring legacy of Shastra Vidya, and Shastra Vidya is the education of weaponry, which goes back hundreds of years in the Sikh faith, and it's probably less lethal in the way that we practice it every day, but the principles are there for battlefield combat.
Okay, so that was its original purpose, was for battlefield?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. And what were the sticks before?
Yeah, so the sticks, even now, we practice with swords and shields as well. Going back 400 years, the history of this martial art comes from the time where the Sikh people were really asserting themselves, and they were growing as a community, and the Mughal regime, which was ruling over India at that time, was getting more and more oppressive by the day. So in order to defend themselves, to defend others, this martial art form of Shastra Vidya, of education, combat education, and Gatka was given to the Sikh people to formally establish a fighting force to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. So these sticks would have been used back then as well to train, because you can't train with a sword all the time.
Doesn't usually end well.
Yeah, exactly. So even today, we still practice with swords, we still practice with shields, but for more heavy contact, to practice the follow through of strikes and such, then we have these sticks and shields to practice.
And that's amazing. And so who practices Gatka now?
So a large population of Sikhs across the world still practice Gatka. There are akhadas, or training schools, that are across countries and continents. Here in Surrey, we have multiple training schools and academies as well. Our own, the Shahid Baba Deep Singh Gatka Akhada, which is hosting this championship, has been around since 2003. So young and old, men and women, everybody is practicing the martial art in the Sikh world.
Oh, that's incredible. How many countries are going to be involved in the competition?
So this year we have 3. We have India, Canada, and the US, but there are others in Australia and the UK as well, and all over Europe. So we're hoping year over year that we can grow it out.
Okay, and what will we see at the event? What can people expect if they attend?
Yeah, so the first day on the 24th is going to be like more of a festival type of atmosphere. There will be matches throughout the day. It'll be pretty community feeling with qualifying matches. And June 25th, Sunday, is going to be the day of the elimination playoffs, and that's going to be something to see.
Yeah.
Because so there will be 2-minute rounds of Fari Soti combat. So you'll see like the bracket progress throughout the day, and it's this really wonderful kind of amalgamation of people that we have coming together. Like I said, I think it's the first time that of this production quality that this kind of Gatka championship might be happening anywhere in the world. We have our commentators are from Hockey Night in Canada, Punjabi edition. Right. Sikh professionals who've been working in live event producing, film, theater for over a decade are coming together to make this happen. And our local production community here in Vancouver is coming together to make like professional lighting, the whole sports feel come to life for that day.
So where and when can people watch the competition?
So you can watch it in person at Khalsa School, Old Yale Road, on Saturday, June 24th and Sunday, June 25th. You could also watch it on your television if you have channel Punjabi, Chardi Kala Time TV. It'll be broadcast. And also it'll be broadcast through our website, www.gatka.ca.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right.
Happy Father's Day. This is our Vancouver.
While June is National Indigenous History Month in Canada, we are taking some time to highlight community stories. So we headed north to the Taco River Chilcat First Nation near the town of Atlin, where a ceremony took place marking the return of a significant cultural piece.
Anticipation and joy at the Whitehorse Airport.
I'm ready to cry because it's back where it belongs.
As a special cargo and clan leaders arrive, a heartfelt welcome.
We brought her home!
This marks the return of a cherished woven Chilcat blanket taken from the community sometime in the 1800s.
I've always dreamt of, is there a Chilcat blanket that's ever going to come back to our community? This is, a big deal.
In a simple box marked fragile, the blanket is a direct connection to the Taco River Chilcat ancestors.
It's our culture calling to us to come get it, for us to go get it, for us to come and celebrate it, because that's what we're trying to do every day. There's so much oppression.
The blanket was in an unknown private collection. It appeared up for auction in Toronto last fall. Luckily, it was spotted by an avid art collector originally from the local community. After a nail-biting bidding war and tens of thousands of dollars, it's here. Paying to repatriate or rematriate this piece of their own history makes this joyous homecoming a little bittersweet. Elder Kaiyoshi O'Shea hopes whoever profited from the sale might come to know the story and significance, maybe even give back the money.
The person would have feelings later down the road and return it, and the youth could use it.
But today is about celebration. This summer, the community will officially unveil, honor, and welcome the return of this long-missing treasured robe in Atlin, northern BC. Cheryl Kawaja, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Back in Vancouver, a new program at Langara College is pairing students with elders to write memoirs of residential school survivors. The stories chronicle one of the darkest chapters of Canadian history and are now being published.
Squamish First Nation elder Sam George recounts what he calls 8 years of abuse and neglect at St. Paul's Indian Residential School in North Vancouver after he and his brother were taken away from their family when he was only 6 years old.
The first day, grade 1, I seen 2 brothers get beat up by a nun quite severely because they were speaking their language.
George says he barely survived his experience, and it wound up leading him into a life of addiction, crime, violence, and incarceration.
I went to Ocala prison at 15 years old. Very scary place.
Now he's sharing his story in a memoir called The Fire Still Burns, Life in and After Residential School.
Writing it down, getting it all out there, really looking at myself and trying to be honest about it. And just getting it out and say, okay, that's me. I was like that, I'm not that way anymore.
George's is one of 5 memoirs written in collaboration with students and educators, a part of Langara College's Writing Lives program.
There's a real emotional process to having the students learn to really care for the elders, right? So they're not just interviewing them and asking questions and badgering them, but they're working to slowly build the relationship and build the trust.
Tanis Wilson is an off-reservation member of the Constance Lake First Nation in northeastern Ontario. She was one of the students who worked closely with George on his memoir.
He had to be really vulnerable to do this. I think it's a really brave thing that he's doing, and he just really encouraged me to remember that, like, as Indigenous peoples, our fire can never burn out.
The course involves developing a relationship with elders, sitting for several interviews to record their stories, which are then organized and edited under the approval of the elder.
It's a privilege to be able to actually, sit down with someone and hold space for them.
George's memoir takes readers from his early childhood to what he remembers as the horrors of St. Paul's and its devastating aftermath. It ends with him finding a way forward in life by reconnecting with culture. He says it's a story of survival and rebuilding after trauma.
I had to look at myself. Very big step in healing. Knowing who I was, knowing who I am.
Janella Hamilton, CBC News, North Vancouver.
The City of Vancouver is resuming a program to display more Indigenous artwork in public spaces. The program supports local artists by showcasing their work. This year, 21 artists have been commissioned to create unique artwork. Take a look.
The thing that I love about the Platforms program is that it has such a short production time. And what that means is we're able to tap into what is front and center in people's minds and artists' minds right now. So for example, when we had the COVID response platforms, artists were creating work about what that means, right? Like to be isolated, to be afraid, to have this worldwide pandemic happening. And with this Platforms 9 Places for Seeing, we asked the Indigenous artists, what's first and foremost in your mind right now? What are the things that are finding expression in your artworks? And so this way we were able to basically use this program, this temporary 2D program, in order to tap into what Indigenous artists are concerned with right now.
Well, it's time to check out some of your amazing photographs sent in each week. We feature a few on every show. First, Greg really knocked this one out of the park. The detail on this hummingbird in a Soyuz is a showstopper. And it looks like dinner time at the Ospreys. Thank you, Norm Stack, for capturing this beauty along the Fraser River right near Sea Island. And finally, they are definitely not John, Paul, George, or Ringo, but I bet these Canada geese stopped traffic in front of Vancouver's Sophia Hotel just the same. Great photo, Michael Sull. We couldn't possibly include all your beautiful photos, but keep them coming. You can email them to bcphotos@cbc.ca. That's bcphotos@cbc.ca. While a shark in the water might not be everyone's idea of a pleasant swim, for a group of Vancouver Island scuba divers, it was a dream come true. Have a look.
We went down to dive erect. All of a sudden, it caught the corner of my eye, and there's no mistaking it. That's a big shark. So then I go to signal to Garrett. I said, "Did you see that big shark?" And all of a sudden, Danton saw it again.
It was a blunt-nosed, six-gill shark. As a videographer, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I mean, six-gill sharks are incredibly rare. The sightings of them are very infrequent. Slowly swimming towards Mateo's lights, and just as it gets to the lights, it turns around, and then it's got me lined up dead center. And to just be sitting there in the right place at the right time with your camera in the right direction as this animal is swimming directly towards you, I was just completely on cloud nine there.
You can still kind of hear us through the regulators. We weren't getting eaten. That's just our excitement. Just sheer joy of seeing something so tough to see.
Six gill on a shipwreck.
Something we'll never forget.
Coming up, how far has Canada's insect farming come? That would be farming them to eat. Johanna Wagstaff checks in on the topic.
Beef, pork, chicken, dairy. We know the earth takes huge hits to produce all the animal products we eat. But might I bug you about a different animal product that emits considerably less greenhouse gases? Hear me out. Insects. This is a relatively new concept for many of us. No way we're doing 8-legged insects, but they have been part of cultural diets in regions like Vietnam and Thailand for millennia. Could edible insects like crickets and mealworms hit our grocery shelves and become more of a fixture in our diets? Experts say there's a number of advantages to eating bugs, both for our nutrition and the environment. Depending on what insect you're eating, they can be rich in protein and good fats, protein with high vitamin, fiber, and mineral content. Farming insects requires much less to produce than livestock. Not to mention they need far less land and water. And because insects are cold-blooded, they are efficient in converting feed into protein and can even be fed organic waste. A few cricket farms have popped up in Canada over the last 10 years, including here in BC, just outside of Langley. And some farm markets might even carry a cricket snack or two. Just recently, a massive cricket processing facility came online in London, Ontario, with the hopes to produce 13 million kilograms of cricket protein annually, selling mostly to pet food markets for now. So what's stopping us from eating more bugs? Sure, there's the psychological barrier, but there's still so much we don't know about just how sustainable this path could be, and there's yet to be more research done about potential biohazards that they could bring. Either way, this phenomenon is getting quite a bit of buzz. And now you're science smart. Send me an email if you have a science question, and I'll try to get it answered.
Thanks, Johanna, and welcome back to our Vancouver. Well, if you are a meat lover, but you'd rather have someone else do the grilling, then our next guest has a lot to offer you. He's the executive chef behind an award-winning steakhouse, and he will be repping at the popular Brewery and The Beast festival coming up in July. Elisa Modern Steaks executive chef Andrew Richardson is here. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, nice to be here.
Oh, thanks so much for coming in. So I understand that Elisa won a big award this year.
Yes, we did. Actually, we had 2 awards this year. One was the World Steakhouse Award. So we were number 36 in the world, which was quite an achievement.
Oh, wow.
And for the whole team, it was quite an achievement. And then the Vancouver Magazine Awards, which just happened recently, we were voted the top steakhouse in the city. So everyone at the restaurant right now is elated. Yeah.
I was going to say, and what has it been like at the restaurant, since those awards?
Well, I mean, it's been very, very busy. But fortunately, since we opened the doors almost 5 years ago now, the restaurant has been very busy. But certainly there's a real buzz around the restaurant at the moment, which makes it even more special. So
well, it's always nice to get recognized for your talents and stuff.
Yeah.
So what's behind sort of the concept of the restaurant of Elisa?
Well, Elisa is a steakhouse. I mean, that's the brand, but we like to think of it as a modern interpretation. And when we say that, we mean that the menu offers much more than just steak. Right. For example, we have a lot of vegetarian food on the menu, so even some vegan food on the menu.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and for a lot of steakhouses, it's kind of strange. And there's also a lot of seafood as well. And so, to that end, it's a bit different from a lot of steakhouses, right. So it's an evolved concept. So I feel like that's one of the things that makes it special, yeah.
Oh, I think that's amazing. And obviously, we can't have fire in the,
yes, that's right.
the studio. Yeah. But I understand that you are going to make us something to eat. You have a wonderful array here.
Yeah. So in the restaurant, we have a cold bar, which on the cold bar, we have a tartare menu.
Okay.
So on that menu, we have 2 beef tartare, a bison tartare, a tuna tartare, and also a vegetable tartare. But the one I'm going to show you today is one of the beef tartares, and it's the one we call the classic tartare, meaning that it's kind of it's recognizable in a lot of restaurants, but this is our interpretation. So in this dish, we have some beef that's been hand cut. Okay. So that's beef tenderloin from a reliable source. So we'll just put that into the bowl there.
Okay.
And then to that, we're going to add a little bit of mustard, which is one of the classic ingredients. And then also a few chopped capers, a few gherkins, some shallots, a little tomato ketchup, gives it a nice zing. And some egg yolk. So this is raw egg yolk, but it gives the meat a nice richness and it binds the mix together. And then we're also going to put a little bit of chopped parsley. And then we're going to season it with some salt. And at the end, some fresh ground black pepper. And so we just mix that together. That's the ingredients there.
Okay.
You a fan of steak tartare?
I am, but it is an unusual, I suppose, dish at a restaurant known for grilling.
It is, yes. I mean, as I said, the menu is extensive. We have a lot of things on the menu at the restaurant.
Okay.
So it's a combination of cold and hot. And so the tartare constitutes the cold part of the menu.
Right.
So that's a tartare mix there. And we'll just spoon it onto the side of the plate.
Okay. You can tell I haven't had lunch yet. It's like, that looks great. That looks great. So many flavorful ingredients too, and
it is, yes.
You know, even without being over the fire, you know.
It is. So with the other ingredients, we try to evoke the fire a little bit because one of the things we accompany it with is the it's this aioli, but it's made with you see the speckles in the aioli. This is some charred vegetable ash that we grind and mix in the aioli. If you want to taste that one, you could. It's up to you.
I will happily taste this.
Yeah, so go ahead.
All right.
Some spoons right here.
Gotcha. All right. Going in, so just a little bit of sauce.
Yeah, a little bit of sauce.
Right. And tell me about the Brewery and the Beast event coming up.
So the Brewery and the Beast event is it's an event that's been happening in Vancouver for 10 years now, and it's the 10th year.
So good.
Thank you. It's the 10th year for the event,
Delicious.
so it's somewhat of an anniversary. And it's been a very, very successful event since day one.
I can't taste the smoke in this.
You can, yeah.
It's got that smokiness to it.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
One of the other things we just finished the dish off with actually is this again is the vegetable ash, and sometimes I'll just dust a little bit on the plate.
Oh, okay.
It gives you more of the sense of the fire.
I love that.
But yeah, so Brewery and the Beast, and it's at Concord Plaza. It's going to be. It takes place on July the 9th.
There you go.
And there are some tickets still available.
Okay.
So if you want to go online to Brewery and the Beast, and you can purchase tickets. Yeah.
And, you know, I guess typically when we think of beef, or especially steak, we think of wine, but you're pairing it with beer.
Yeah. We sell a lot of wine, and we pair a lot of wine at the restaurant, but this particular event, the Brewery and the Beast, it's supported by a lot of local breweries.
Right.
And the beer is going to be poured with the tartare, so that's why we have the beer there. And I think the one right on the end here, the Fat Tug.
Okay.
Reliably informed by our chief sommelier that this is a perfect match for the tartare that we serve at the restaurant.
That is wonderful. And any, sort of future events, anything that you're, hoping to try, experiment with at the restaurant?
Well, I mean, like the beef program we have at the restaurant is always something that we're experimenting with.
Yeah, tell me about what you brought in here.
Yeah, so this is some of the meat that we serve at the restaurant, and all this comes through our butcher shop, which is coupled with the restaurant, Luigi and Sons. And they have the tomahawk, which is the bone-in ribeye, which is the big, large format cut. Then we also have the porterhouse steak. In Italian, you would call it the bistecca fiorentina, which is the big sharing cut. And then we have A5 tenderloin from Kagoshima, Japan. And then we also have Holstein ribeye, and then a ribeye from the United States. So this program is we have our signatures, but it moves a lot as well. So we get a lot of excitement out of using these cuts of beef, and also dry aging as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And as we're seeing more, as you said, you have vegetable and vegan. Is that sort of what we're going to see more and more? Is understanding that there's a lot of different tastes and a lot of people that want to come together, but maybe have different ideas of what they want to eat.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that was one of the things we talked about before we opened the restaurant, designed the menu, was that the demographic means that if there's a party of 6 to 8 people within that group, if everyone's going to be happy, then some people are vegan, some people are vegetarian, some people don't eat meat. So with the menu, we designed it in such a way that it accommodates anybody that wants to come to the restaurant, and it's been successful for us. So it's been good. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, let's try the pairing. Let's have a little bit of the beer.
I'll have the glass
tartare,
here. Yeah.
as it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm interested. It's not one I've tried myself, but I'm certainly interested.
Okay, well, let's give it a whirl. Oh no, now my pouring skills are going to get tested.
That's pretty good. I have some forks here.
Now, are they sponsors of the event?
Yes, I believe all the breweries you see on the frontier, they're all participating in the event.
Okay.
They're all sponsoring the event, yeah.
All right. So we dive in?
Yes, go ahead.
A little bit of everything.
It's actually a dish I haven't tried for some time. It's, yeah, you make it so often, and sometimes you don't quite feel like.
It's delicious, trust me. Thank you. And just, what was the date of the Brewery and the Beast again?
So Brewery and the Beast is July the 9th.
Right.
So I guess it's 2 or 3 weeks away. So there is time to get tickets still, but I understand they're selling out fast. So
I bet.
Probably sooner rather than later.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right,
you.
thanks so much.
Appreciate it, Mamie. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Kids Beach and this is our Vancouver!
ये जो हल्का हल्का सुरूर है.
If you want to see some live music, check out one of the International Jazz Festival's headline acts at the Vancouver Playhouse on June 26th. And love 'em or hate 'em, Canadian rockers Nickelback are back, playing Rogers Arena on June 28th.
Hey, Grant Lawrence from CBC Music here with the return of a longtime Montreal band leader who has gone solo for his latest effort. I'm talking about Murray Lightburn, who has co-fronted the groundbreaking Montreal rock band The Deers with his wife, Natalia Janczak, for almost 30 years.
I'm happy to say that I am forever changing my ways. But there is nothing left to spill except a demi-format bottle of pills.
Going all the way back to the year 2000, that's The Deers with the title track from their first ever album. And I was doing a little bit of math, and that means that I have been showcasing this band's music for 23 years here on the CBC. They first formed back in 1995, first album in 2000, and as you heard there, The Deers immersed themselves in a kind of Brit-pop indie style of dark orchestral pop music. And in those early years of the millennium, The Deers were at the very forefront of Canada's emerging indie rock renaissance alongside the New Pornographers in Vancouver, Broken Social Scene in Toronto, and a few years later, Arcade Fire blowing up in Montreal. But The Deers were arguably ahead of them all. From their 2008 album Missiles, that was the great Deers song, Money Babies, an opening riff that I love to this day, some 15 years later. So the mid-2000s was a very good time for the Deers. They rode that Canadian indie export wave right around the world, touring North America, Europe, Japan, and Australia. And they saw their albums chart repeatedly here at home and in the UK, and they were repeatedly nominated for the Polaris Music Prize, amongst other accolades. And the Deers just never quit, despite having over 20 different members cycle through the band over the decades. From the most recent full-length Deers album called Lover's Rock, that's The Worst in Us, which came out, trivia fans, on the incredibly fateful day of March 13th, 2020, mostly remembered as the pandemic shutdown day. Not great timing to release a pop single, but lead singer Murray A. Lightburn has recently returned to the spotlight with much better timing with his third solo album, which is a tribute to his deceased jazz musician father. The record is called Once Upon a Time in Montreal, and here's the title track.
Once upon a time in Montreal, the only place I can recall, albeit in a bleary haze. That's what it's like these final days. The story goes something like this, we must pursue domestic bliss.
As you can hear there, a much jazzier, chilled out vibe there from Murray A. Lightburn from his new solo album, Once Upon a Time in Montreal, which currently has a track climbing the CBC Music Top 20 right now. And that's the song that you need to add to your new music playlist for this week. I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music. I'll check in with you again soon.
Coming up, a community's trial by fire. Welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Amy Bell. Well, it could take months to reopen one of Vancouver's oldest diners on the downtown east side. Police say a fire last month at the Ovaltine Cafe was suspicious. The CBC went down to the cafe to talk to the owners who are refusing to give up on their business and the community.
You want a bowl of soup, love?
That's my bag.
With their doors still closed, the owners of the Ovaltine Cafe take their cooking to the street. Mother-daughter duo Grace and Rachel Chen are giving away free soup using ingredients Grace salvaged after a fire broke out at the restaurant last Sunday.
We have a place to live. We have food. So that's enough. Lots of people, they don't have. So if we can help them, we should help them.
Part of our culture as well and how we raise that, we don't waste a grain of rice. So just for her to hear that, like, just to sit, the food is sitting there perfectly fine and let it go bad, it didn't make sense to her.
Inside, the normally bustling, vibrant diner is now dark. Fire and smoke damage have forced the restaurant to close indefinitely as the Chens look to repair. Vancouver police, meanwhile, suspect arson may be at play.
Just to say that, little hurt. And never thinking happened to the Ovaltine Cafe.
We try to think the more positive side, that maybe it was just a bad night that person's having.
But while the fire has cast a shadow on their future, the restaurant's storied past was spared. 80 years of history still lining the walls and shelves.
This is your favorite guy?
My favorite guy.
Oh, that's my wife's favorite guy, too.
Through the years, the Ovaltine has served as a popular filming location, including some of CBC's own.
Sometime back in the 60s, I think the mayor got heavy on the clubs and the bawdy houses. That's when it all started, put everybody out on the street.
The Chens took ownership in 2014 and are determined to keep the legacy strong.
My customer just tell me here like them home. Then they come to here, they call me sister, brother. We like a family. So that's really important to me.
This neighborhood has given us everything that we have. The clothes on my back, my education, everything we have, it's thanks to this neighborhood.
They say the closure is yet another bump in the road in the Ovaltine's history, but they're determined to come back stronger. In the meantime, they're savoring support from the community. Ali Patarga, CBC News, Vancouver.
Over the next 2 months, a man will be cycling from BC to his home in Quebec, all for his grandson, who has a rare disease called spinal muscular atrophy. His journey will raise money and awareness, but as we found out, his ultimate goal is to get treatments covered across the country.
We want to send this with you, and on it has a little word, hope. And this is what you give us. A simple word that means so much.
An emotional send-off for 66-year-old Bernard McNeil.
And when you are troubling on a hill, or you're just exhausted, look down and feel the strength of us behind you.
As he prepares to cycle thousands of kilometers from New Westminster to his home near Montreal. It's all for his grandson, who is battling spinal muscular atrophy, a rare genetic disease that can damage nerves and cause muscle weakness.
He's sick often because of his lung. They're not strong enough to support him because The muscles are not strong enough.
McNeil's grandson, Malik, cannot walk and has trouble swallowing and breathing on his own.
There's not enough people who knows that disease.
Malik was not expected to live past the age of 2 years old, but newly developed drugs have helped him reach the age of 9. In Canada, those treatments are accessible for all ages, only in Quebec.
We have recently gained access to treatment in Canada. However, it's not for everyone.
Advocates argue there are 3 medications that have proven effective, but each one has differing age restrictions. 28-year-old Taylor Danielson is not eligible for any of the treatments, even as his condition deteriorates day by day.
The most frustrating part of the disease and accessing treatment is the arbitrary guidelines and limitations which have been set on these treatments.
We have patients considering self-harm. We have patients that have chosen to end life because they are just struggling so hard with the decline of their disease. And there's treatment out there, and they just can't access it. It's devastating.
As for McNeil, his goal is to raise $20,000 online in addition to spreading awareness. He thinks of his grandson as a warrior, giving him strength and motivation.
Every trip I do on my bike, I think of him.
Janella Hamilton, CBC News, New Westminster.
Coming up, one man's garbage is another man's music to our ears. Welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Amy Bell. Well, you can go ahead and call his music garbage. He's just fine with that. Meet a musician and composer who creates his own tunes out of castaways. Have a look and a listen.
I build musical instruments out of recycled material. I'm trying to make an entire orchestra. I've invented musical instruments of my own devising and then writing music for that. Some things I've just found and gone, oh, this is cool, it looks great, what does it sound like? Or I find bits of other broken things that look like they'll belong to other broken things, and then there's a lot of play and experimentation that goes on. I've been building instruments for 22, 23 years using metal fabrication and welding. Before that, I just used to use found objects. Recycled stuff gives me new sound, new texture, lots of inspiration, but I also like finding things that other people have touched with their hands already and cast off. So things that had a life before I grab hold of it, and I feel like I'm bringing something back into the mix. I love using this is all BC-based stuff for the most part, and love British Columbia, big province, so I make big instruments, large-scale articulated sculptures. This puppy right here is called the Pippolini. It's 30 chunks of stainless steel and aluminum and regular ordinary steel, and it's cut to different lengths. And a lot of this came from the pulp mill up island, up and around Nanaimo. All these brand new instruments that came out of local recycled material, lampshades from Camosun College. What this is a remnant from when the BC ferries were making the fast cats. All of this incredible aluminum came through our scrapyards on Powell Street, and this was a piece of the stuff that was marked BC shipyards. And it was a flat sheet of aluminum that I ended up making into this form. These are called accordions, and I found a discarded Bellini accordion in a dumpster, and the bellows was gone, but all of the reed banks are great. So I cut them out, and with the jeweler's saw, I cut out the individual reeds and then re-glued them into these couplings I got from one of those places that reconstitute used housing stuff. This is a military surplus, old howitzer shell. They're beautiful. The metal sounds incredible. And I cut them to tune them to different pitches. And there's a wide variety of sounds.
A 69-year drought is done and dusted at the Canadian Open. Abbotsford's pro golfer Nick Taylor put himself in the history books after winning the tournament on an incredible putt. It's the first time a Canadian has won the title since 1954, and the celebration at home is far from over.
I think it will go down in the annals of history.
The greens are abuzz at Abbotsford, BC's Ledgeview Golf Club as members here celebrate the success of a newly minted Canadian champion.
I don't think I remember how high I jumped or what my reaction was like, but it was quite crazy.
Good pace. Are you serious?
A 72-foot putt that won Nick Taylor the Canadian Open, the first Canadian to do it in nearly 70 years.
He got all the calculations right and a bit of lady luck on his side there, knocking it in.
The moment followed by an equally thrilling celebration with an unexpected twist when his friend and fellow tour member Adam Hadwin showered him with praise and champagne, only to get mistakenly tackled by security.
It looked like he handled it well. He got up and kind of apologized to the security guy himself, didn't spill a bottle of or a drop of that bubbly.
Brad Clapp is the general manager of Ledgeview, the club that Taylor and Hadwin joined when they were kids.
They would play against each other. They may have, simulated that putt to win the Canadian Open endless times on the Ledgeview Golf Club greens.
Practice that earned Taylor national championships in junior, then amateur, and now the PGA.
He's always been able to pull it off when there's probably the most stress.
Success Golf Canada believes will inspire the next generation of Canadian talent. It hopes to double the number of Canadians on the PGA Tour over the next decade.
Some people call this a golden moment of golf. I'd actually call it the moment of golf. It's the beginning of our journey.
A moment in Canadian sport some thought would never happen. John Hernandez, CBC News, Abbotsford.
A trickster. Are you good? This guy, John, he's the only reason I sound good, if I do sound good tonight. Always thank the sound man. You don't seem very blissful, considering how ignorant you are. I might lie just a little too much, but I'm smiling while you lose your mind. Simply the trickster. I seek out trouble from troubled minds. Simply the trickster. I seek out trouble, and trouble I find. Trouble I find. You don't seem very blissful, considering how ignorant you are.
At the end of this program, we like to tip our hats to our talented photojournalists on staff at CBC Vancouver. They bring us images in their artful way to give depth and deep character to the stories we cover. Here is a sampling from what they saw this past week. That's all for our Vancouver This Week. Bye for now.